He became king at age 7, hidden in a temple for 6 years while a murderous queen sat on the throne. When he finally emerged, he set about repairing the house of God with a dedication that earned him a place in Scripture. And then, after a reign of 40 years, he was murdered by his own servants in his bed. King Joash of Judah is one of the most remarkable and underappreciated figures in the entire biblical narrative, and archaeology confirms his world in precise, verifiable detail. The story of Joash reads almost like a political thriller. His grandmother, Athaliah, the daughter of the infamous King Ahab and Queen Jezebel of Israel, seized the throne of Judah by having the royal family killed. But one child survived, an infant named Joash, hidden by his aunt and raised in secret within the temple precincts by a priest named Jehoiada. At age 7, Jehoiada engineered a coup, presented the young king to the palace guard, and had Athaliah executed. King Joash reigned for 40 years, and his defining achievement was the restoration of the temple in Jerusalem. The account of Joash's reign is told in 2 Kings chapters 11 and 12, and in greater detail in 2 Chronicles chapter 24. The central project of his kingship was the repairing of the temple, which had fallen into disrepair during Athaliah's rule. He instituted what may be the earliest recorded public fundraising system in history, a chest placed at the temple gate where worshippers could deposit offerings specifically designated for temple repair. 2 Kings chapter 12, verse 9. Priests collected the money, and craftsmen, carpenters, builders, masons, metalworkers were hired to carry out the restoration. This administrative detail is important because it is exactly the kind of specific, bureaucratic record that authentic historical accounts contain. It is not the language of legend, it is the language of a treasury system, a chest, a designated purpose, hired workers, accountable funds. The political context of Joash's reign is confirmed by Assyrian records. During his reign, the kingdom of Israel to the north was paying heavy tribute to Assyrian kings, and the entire region was under the shadow of Assyrian expansion. 2 Kings chapter 12, verses 17 through 18 records that when Hazael, king of Aram, Damascus, threatened Jerusalem, Joash paid him off with the temple treasury. This kind of tribute payment was standard practice in the ancient Near East and is well attested in Assyrian administrative records of the same period. The political pressure described in the text is consistent with what we know of the geopolitical situation in the early 9th century BC. The water systems that Joash would have known and used are dramatically confirmed by archaeology. The Iron Age water shaft at Gibeon, excavated by James Pritchard of the University of Pennsylvania in the 1950s and 60s, is a breathtaking feat of engineering. A cylindrical shaft nearly 11 meters across and 11 meters deep, cut through solid rock, with a spiral staircase descending 24 meters further to a water tunnel below. Pritchard also found a large pool area and jar handles with the name Gibeon inscribed on them. This kind of hydraulic engineering, cutting through rock to access groundwater, was characteristic of Judahite and Israelite cities throughout the monarchy period. The famous Megiddo water system, excavated by the Oriental Institute of Chicago, shows the same Iron Age engineering genius, a vertical shaft and a 70-meter tunnel dug through solid limestone to access a spring outside the city wall, allowing the city to access water safely during a siege. These were not primitive societies. The kings of Judah ruled over cities with sophisticated infrastructure, cut stone, engineered water systems, organized treasuries, professional guilds of craftsmen. The World 2 Chronicles chapter 24 describes workers with specific trades, priestly oversight, royal administration is precisely the world that Iron Age archaeology has confirmed. Joash's end came at the hands of his own servants. 2 Kings chapter 12, verses 20 through 21 says he was murdered at Beth Millo, a place name associated with the Millo, a filled terraced structure in Jerusalem. 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 25 adds detail. He was killed as he lay sick in his bed by 2 of his servants. The names of the conspirators are even given as Jozabad son of Shimeath and Jehozabad son of Shomer. These are not generic villain names, they are specific patronymics of the kind that appear throughout authentic administrative records. His son Amaziah succeeded him and immediately executed the servants who had killed his father, but in a detail that 2 Kings chapter 14 verse 6 makes a point of noting, he did not execute their children, in accordance with the law of Moses that says children shall not be put to death for the sins of their parents. This legal restraint, attributed to an ancient code, reflects a real tension between ancient Near Eastern practice, where whole families were sometimes punished, and the specific law of Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16. The Bible is not describing an ideal world, it is describing a real one, with real tension between law and political expediency. The physical infrastructure of Joash's Jerusalem, the Temple Mount platform, the water systems, the administrative buildings, the fortifications, belong to the Iron Age archaeological layer that is well documented across the city. The 2 Chronicles chapter 24 description of the temple chest, the hiring of craftsmen, and the systematic repair of a public building is the kind of administrative record that historians recognize as characteristic of authentic institutional documentation. Joash was a child hidden in a temple, raised to be a king, devoted to God's house, and ultimately betrayed by the servants closest to him. His story is confirmed not by a single dramatic inscription, but by the world archaeology has built around it. The water systems, the administrative records, the political pressures, the craftsmen's guilds, the treasury systems. These are not the inventions of storytellers. They are the fingerprints of a real government, a real city, and a real king who fixed what others had broken. Next time, the valley where a righteous king's death shook a nation so hard that its name became the word for the end of the world.